utilize the time. That's for sure. Yep, without a doubt. Here we go. Monday, final day of September. It's all true. Is that true? Yes, it is, as a matter of fact. Yep. So that's good news. News from. There we go. Yes. Let's roll. Okay. 102. There's Danielle. There she is, folks. Another week of excitement. Here we go. Who can contain themselves? We are live. And I also want to. There's Catherine, who's been doing a fantastic job. My goodness. Game changer type job. Fantastic job. All the subscribers raving. And folks, we just continue to roll. Hey, I want to remind you right now, as everyone is signing on at 102, don't forget about Kids Club on the Pike. Kids Club on the Pike, birthday parties, after school programs. They have summer camp, preschool programs. This excuse me, Kids Club on the Pike is perfect if either you're a coach or your child plays on a team. And the month of October, it's going to be the conclusion of fall soccer or fall ball or whatever activity. But Kids Club on the Pike, they're right on the Cranston Johnson line. I share their Facebook page. It's immaculate. Birthday parties. The kids can have their food, but then they can run around. And it's not the danger of, it's clean, right? It's not like Chuck E. Slee's. Kids go to Chuck E. Cheese, everyone comes out sick. It's not like that. But it's Kids Club on the Pike, and you can find their Facebook page. They're right on the Cranston Johnson line. Now, also, we're 3 minutes out. Let's see. I also want to remind you, JD's tree service. Folks, I mean, you saw the damage going on down south with these hurricanes. It's a matter of time. Next couple of weeks, we could get a hurricane. JD, just think of the chosen one. JD's Lawn Care Tree Service. Call them 401-441-0154. JD Lawn Care. Now, also, Watson Materials. Largest selection landscape materials in Rhode Island. We're 2 minutes out from our live program. Watson Materials, South County Trail. They are absolutely fantastic. As summer fades, and when I share their Facebook page, you can see what your outdoor space could look like. Watson Materials, landscape lighting, pavers, retaining walls, natural stone, cobblestone. It is absolutely a work of art what they do. Look for them on Facebook. You can call them at 401-885-0600. Watson Materials. Sean, they do such great work, and they're very impressive. And again, you can find them online at watsonmulch.com, but check out their Facebook page. Well, folks, good afternoon. Excuse me. We're live in 1 minute. Stand by, says JR. All right, we're standing by. We are standing by, indeed. Any moment now. Yes, that's all we're waiting for. I like that. Stand by. Who said we're not standing? Of course we're standing. Well, actually, I'm sitting. So, hey, it's not raining out. That's always a positive. That's the new light. There was a report. I thought I saw something that resembled the sun, but we're wrong. So what could make things worse in the biggest little? And that would just be that we have adapted the weather of basically London and parts of Scotland. When I visited there, it's not like it's like this every day. No, it's absolutely like this every single day. There it is at 106. Mostly cloudy, says the weather. That's an understatement. There's a rumor we may see the sun this afternoon. Now, again, all week, at least it's dry. But, folks, this is the real news that you're tuned into. AM 1380, 99.9 FM, Now, remember, you can listen online at our website, depetro.com. Now, this hour of Real News, we do live stream. So we have people that are watching right now on different platforms. Some people watch on YouTube. I hear from the YouTube crowd, I watch you every day. Give the Real News at 1. You're welcome, or thank you, I guess. So we have that crowd. We obviously have our Facebook Live crowd. They're the faithful. They're almost, I would say, almost like the season ticket holders. And then we're also on X as well. So what we do is there's no shortage of ways that you can get the content of the program, because that's what the chosen one is. I am a content provider in different platforms, and it just continues to expand. This portion of the program. Now we have big news on this Monday, final day of September. Yes, we're going to do Road Patrol Live later. It's Wanathon. On this day, All Stars, we have 2 anonymous donors, a wonderful couple that truly believe the work we're doing, exposing a lot of the crime, really exposing what's really going on in the foundations of the state. And on the final day of the month, they match all stars that are sent. So it's a Facebook thing, but we'll definitely do Wanathon later. But folks, this portion of the program, PR Landscape Materials and Garden Center, I was there yesterday and I share their Facebook page. I mean, they continue to just outdo themselves. Homegrown mums and kale are outstanding. Pumpkins, straw bales, corn stalks, gourds, Indian corn. Now they have a great selection on native vegetables, local honey. This is the ideal time for planting. We're certainly getting some rain. And I share their Facebook page. I want to pull it up as we speak, but I just so admire them because number one, it's a family run business. Number two, they grind it. They're open 7 days a week. I am on their Facebook page as we speak, and it is just picture after picture of just sheer delight. Look at the outstanding. And again, check out their Facebook page. Their pumpkins come to life. Debbie, they do a great job. I always credit them with their Facebook. If you're a business, I mean, this is their mums, though. Their selection on mums this year, I just think are just fantastic. Look at the color that that could bring to your property or your business, what have you. And it's row after row. It's PR Landscape Materials and Garden Center. And no one has the pumpkins just pop out at you. It's just such a delight. Plus, they have everything you need. Look at the corn that they have. This is just local corn, and then they also have all the farm fresh sweet corn, fresh produce, those tomatoes, ornamental peppers. The gourds are fantastic. What a great job, and also the bales of hay. And there's Junior with the thumbs up, folks. PR Landscape Materials and Garden Center, 3688 Quaker Lane in North Kingstown, right off of Route 4. Pop in and see them, and they're open 7 days a week. Now, I strongly encourage you to visit depetro.com. We have the online shop. We have all the different hours of the radio show, plus we have links to all social media. Many people, you hear me talk about Road Patrol. You can see some of the video. We have original stories. We break a lot of stories. I'm on the verge right now of working on a different story, taking a little while, a little longer than we thought to come together. But check out the website, depetro.com, which is brought to you by the Cohasset Inn, 226 Cohasset Avenue, West Warwick. Lunch, dinner, drinks in the lounge. Plus, they have the market at Cohasset, the Cohasset Inn. And remember, the Cohasset Inn is the perfect spot for that collation lunch. Someone passes away, and you have, a lot of times you have the wake, and then the funeral mass, and then the burial and so forth. But now, where's everyone going to go? The Cohasset Inn, they could handle a group at lunchtime of 25 or 30 or 40 or 50 or even 100. The Cohasset Inn, 226 Cohasset Avenue, West Warwick. Well, folks, it is an exciting week, not because Governor McKee remains on his 2-week vacation, but only because we have some new polling numbers out, and I think they're very reflective. Salve, Virginia, the Pell Center at Salve, they have come out with some new polls, and right now, this just hit And I recognize this is from the Pell Center, and it's with Salve. And I've seen some of their polling in the past. I think it's pretty much on the money. I recognize a lot of people. I don't know why people say, well, I wasn't polled. I mean, I don't know what to tell. I've been polled actually a number of times. Most of the time, it was because of having a Massachusetts area code, and there were various people constantly as far as on a cell phone. But just because you don't get polled doesn't mean it's not legit. But I think these numbers are more reflective of where things are right now compared to there was some polling numbers that came out from UNH. But this just came out today, and some of the polling numbers that we're looking at, and one is at the top of the list is disapproval for Governor McKee, Dan McKee, is at 56%. He's what you would call upside down or underwater. So they have, and I did post this on Facebook, approval, disapproval with the Pell Center. Governor McKee, 34% approval rating. Now, I believe, number one, that's low. Number two, I think in the East Bay, everyone really impacted by the bridge, I believe it's much lower than that. So he may be away. He also, now keep in mind, they do their own internal polls. But I think McKee probably closer to under 30%. So in the next 9 months, he has a big decision to make on whether or not he's going to announce for re-election, run for another 4-year term. But folks, I'll say this: he is. It's not your imagination. He's not right for the job. He shouldn't be in the job. I don't think his focus is on the job. He wanted to get elected. In many ways, the unions special interests, but the labor unions, they may tell him that he's running for another 4-year term because they control him. He's a puppet for them. So, but I don't know what to make other than he's not up for the job. He has 2 more years left in the job, and it's already, it's not only a disaster, he doesn't know what to do. He doesn't know what to do. So McKee, 34% approval, 56% disapprove. I think it's even closer. And then you have some undecided, but I believe it's probably actually closer to 60% disapproval. And I'm willing to bet in the East Bay, it's even into the 60s, maybe even 70% disapprove of the job he's doing. Lieutenant Governor Matos, only 26% of the people polled gave her a positive approval. 40% disapprove. The thing about Matos is she's not that well known, and those that know her, she doesn't have high approval. She's another one. Governor McKee handpicked her. He pushed her over the finish line. She should not be in that job. What he did was, not only is he incapable of handling the job as governor, he handpicked someone who's incapable of being lieutenant governor. So Matos, terrible as well. Greg Amore, Secretary of State. Now, when you get to like Secretary of State, General Treasurer, most people really don't know a lot of whether they're doing a good job or a bad job. So I don't think they're that consequential. However, the highest approval rating of any statewide office holder is Attorney General Pina Nerona, 41%, much higher than McKee. So what that tells me is I'm not convinced he leaves the stage, meaning I don't believe he has said he's not going to run for governor. And if anything, he would back Helena Foulkes, former CEO of CVS, barely lost to McKee 2 years ago. She's ready to announce sometime next year that she's going to run for governor again. And if you're Attorney General Pina Nerona, I don't think you pass on it. It would seem he could very easily win a Democrat primary, although there could be several people that want to run for that, but he would crush Matos, that's for sure. So I think some of the biggest news out of the poll is Attorney General Pina Nerona. He 41% approval, only 26% disapproval. So that's pretty strong. Now, I want to get into, and I did post the Harris-Trump numbers and also with the congressional people where they fall into. But folks, this portion of our program, I want to remind you, if you're thinking of redoing your home or business, rehab, AJ Home Improvement, call them today, 401 323 9252. 401 323 9252. AJ Home Improvement. They can do commercial rehabs, they can do acoustical ceilings. Maybe you want to just improve your home. Maybe you're happy with your home, but you want to just update it a little bit. AJ Home Improvement, call them. Free estimate 401 323 9252. They have great crews, they do fantastic work, whether it's your home or business. AJ Home Improvement, and they can do it all. I mean, they could build you a new home, but they could also do an addition, or maybe you want to rehab your workspace or your commercial building. They also unfinished garage, unfinished basement. They do it all. AJ Home Improvement, 401 323 9252 for AJ Home Improvement. Well, folks, good afternoon. It is the John DePietro Show. This is the Real News at 1. Let's get back to these polling numbers. Now, I think this is interesting where the race falls. And I did post this on Facebook. Now, as much as some people, not everybody, some people may say, I don't believe any of the polls. Yeah, okay, you're entitled. It's your opinion. Not that it means a lot, but I'll tell you who does pay attention to polls. Maybe you know this, maybe you don't. But for people, there's some people just dismiss, I don't believe any of the polls. Well, I'll tell you who does believe in the polling, and those are the candidates. And I can tell you that the Trump campaign, that they really believe in their polling. They are very good pollsters. They are depending on their polls. The whole reason he won in 2016 was because of their internal polling that showed him the path to victory. So, you can't, if you're going to lose a state, you can't continue to put resources into that state. The polls, their internal polls, dictate the path. The reason why you see, and a lot of people don't realize that, the reason why you see the candidates in certain areas is because of their own internal polling. So, number one, for those that say, I don't believe any of the polls, again, I think that's meaningless, especially I can tell you that the Trump people do. And the Trump people, they feel very good about Arizona. Just as an example, their internal polling shows because of immigration, he's running very strong in Arizona. And you can also pick out, based on their travel, the states that are the most important. Obviously, Pennsylvania is a wildly important state, and the Trump internal polling is dictating where he goes in Pennsylvania. Same thing with J.D. Vance, and then the same thing goes with the Harris campaign. I believe North Carolina is a pivotal state. There's really Wisconsin's a pivotal state, Michigan's a pivotal state, but North Carolina, Pennsylvania, folks, it is odd that the entire election could end up being decided by about 100,000 undecided voters in Arizona, North Carolina, Georgia, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin. Not a lot, not a lot. It's just that, listen, ideal in reality. That's where we're at. However, in this Salve poll that just came out, I think the Harris-Trump numbers are actually very interesting, and I want to touch on that. But I want to remind you that if you're in the market right now and thinking of getting, maybe you want a different vehicle, a pre-owned vehicle. Valari Motors in Cranston, they sell quality pre-owned vehicles. Largest selection of Volvos in Rhode Island. Listen, with Volvo, you can't go wrong. It's just the safest vehicle on the road. Volvo, that's where you can get at Valari Motors. And again, the owner, Paul Staskevich, 10,003 Park Avenue in Cranston. If you are thinking you'd like to trade in your vehicle and get a beautiful pre-owned vehicle, stop it and see them. 1003 Park Avenue, Cranston with Paul. Remember, He lives in Cranston. He has a business in Cranston. He's running for office in Cranston. Great prices, great vehicles, tremendous service. Volare Motors in Cranston, New England's #1 dealer in pre-owned Volvo sales and service. Stop in and see Paul Staskevich or his mechanic Stephen at Volare Motors. Well, folks, good afternoon at 1:21. Now, this number I think is interesting, and this is with Salve and their polling numbers that just came out. So here's the margin that they have right now for Trump Harris in Rhode Island. And 52 to 38, Harris over President Trump with 7% undecided. 52 to 38. But let's go inside those numbers. As you know, President Trump, he underperforms in polls, meaning many times. Actually, it's not many times. It's there's a history of that his poll numbers are at a certain benchmark, and I'm not talking about here, but in other states, consequential states, states and counties in 2016, 2020, where he might be polling at, I'm just going to throw out 52%, and he ends up with 55%. There are many people, when contacted by someone polling, they don't feel comfortable. They don't know who they're talking to. So he over delivers. If they're saying he's at 52, he's probably at 55, maybe even 56, but definitely higher than 52. So let's take that. If we were to accept this, that it's 52 to 38. So I'm going to give him 3 points. I'm going to say really maybe it's 52. Let's just say it could be 41. So 52 to 41. Now, you still have 7% undecided. And Harris, Biden, they're the incumbent. They're the incumbent. Excuse me. They're known. I'm not convinced. The fact that she's at 52%, she could really be flirting really right around 50%. So, but at 52%, I don't think she's a lot higher than that. So when you take the fact that President Trump underperforms and a 7% undecided, folks, this race right now in Rhode Island between the vice president and President Trump, this could actually be more around like a 53 to 47, 52 to 48. I don't know if right inside the margin of error, but there is a very good chance. You know, President Trump will do well in Johnston. He'll do well in Cranston. He'll obviously do well in North Providence, Woonsocket. I want to come back to, if you are a Trump supporter and you would like to, New Hampshire is a battleground state. It does look like Harris will take New Hampshire because so many people in Massachusetts, they have ski homes in New Hampshire. They have lake homes in New Hampshire. Massachusetts people, they register to vote in New Hampshire because they feel they don't need to vote in Massachusetts. So they tend to vote there. So it's a little bit harder to win there. But my point is, if the Rhode Island Republican Party, if they would really focus on voting, and I don't have an answer because I've been talking about it now for so long, and they don't enact any legislation. It's not that tough. If we wanted to, because the voting should reflect what the polls are, but they don't. So, for instance, you go back 2 years ago, the polls were accurate on the Fung for Congress race. It kept showing that he was up by about 4 percentage points over Seth Magaziner. And on election day, day of voting, Alan Fung won day of voting by about 4 percentage points. So that tells you the polls were actually very accurate. Why is Magaziner the congressman then? Because of it's because of the mail ballots. It's because of the mail ballots. If you're listening or watching right now, um, if the state really wanted to turn around our election system, when I talk about the Republicans at the Rhode Island State House, they're at the State House. They have to run a concerted campaign effort to rein in our election system. It starts way too long. The early voting for the primary started 21 days out. There's no reason for that. You don't need that, especially the day it had such a small turnout. So this whole business that you needed early voting for people that's ridiculous. And it's done because they exploit the election system. Governor Mckee won handily over Ashley Kalus because of mail ballots. And Aaron Gukian, as I've told you, he won day of voting against Sabina Matos. He even won the city of Warwick, but he lost because of mail ballots that Mckee and Magaziner pulled her over the finish line. So I recognize, there's a number of people that on the weekends and they ride around and they have Trump signs and they ride around and decorate their cars and, all of that. It's fine. It's a club. It's the equivalent to me of like flying a kite in a way. But if just a quarter of that energy went into changing our voting system, and to be fair, it's not the people that are out riding around and trying to show some support and effort and energy. It comes down to, at what point does the Rhode Island Republican Party and those elected officials at the State House, when do they truly get serious about trying to get our elections on track? In 2 years, the next race for governor, which will be 2026, will be the 20-year anniversary that a Republican won statewide, and that was Governor Kucheri barely got reelected in 2006 over Charlie Fogarty. So my point about these polls is it could change. It could change. And as much as, right now, like one has to follow the other. If the voting was turned around, there's a possibility if we had legitimate elections, Alan Fung would be the congressman. Aaron Gukian, Republican, would be the lieutenant governor. My point is, who knows how they could have changed the landscape in recruiting more people, raising more money, raising the profile. It could make a huge difference for the state to have those individuals involved if they were elected. That's what I'm talking about. So it begins and ends there. So I think this shows that the state, there are certain pockets. Granted, the East Bay is really blue, but there's enough red that if you had some elected officials, Republicans, could make a difference and start to add a little more balance to the state than where it is right now. And you know what? It's also really interesting, and I'm going to talk about this in a moment. Folks, I want to remind you, if you're thinking of paving your driveway, contact J. Perry Paving today. Letter J, J. Perry Paving, 401-732-1730. 401-732-1730. High quality, fair pricing, exceptional service. Letter J, J. Perry Paving. Free estimate, any project. Call them today, 401-732-1730, 401-732-1730, letter J, J. Perry Paving. This is perfect weather. The next few weeks and months are perfect weather to get your driveway paved or get a parking lot paved. And I want to remind you, no one has a better package for veterans than J. Perry Paving. Call them today, 401-732-1730, 401-732-1730, letter J, J. Perry Paving. Well, folks, good afternoon. Again, this is the real news. And those of you that follow, I'm so very happy with the content, the work we've been putting out, because I find more and more each day people see stories that we cover that the rest of the media, they don't cover. They're not going to cover. They're not going to cover to the extent that they should. Right now, I played in the radio portion, and Justin Katz and myself discussed. Channel 12 had these two union leaders on and had them as guests. And what you need to realize is those people are 100%, they are completely responsible for nothing more than the destruction of the state. All the problems you can point to are basically all rooted into the power of the public sector unions. Why are the schools lousy? Because of the teachers unions. You know, the schools, kids, people that send their children to Mount, they're doing fine. People that send their child to LaSalle or Hendricken or Moses Brown or Bayview or Wheeler, they're doing fine. It's the public school teachers. Charter schools are fine. Then what's the problem, right? It's like the scene in Moneyball when with the scouts. What's the problem? It's the teachers unions. They've destroyed public education in the state. And those people that you saw, they help part of that. The correctional officers at the ACI, $30 million a year in overtime. Why is that? Because of the union. And because of the antics they put out. And then because they don't like who's the new director. So at the State House, why are things so expensive around here? It's because they control the legislature. Why can't people find jobs? Look at the incompetence with the bridge. You can't fire anybody. They control the State House. It is just interesting that Channel 12 has them on. But I think, and again, nothing against Ted Nesi, Tim White. I like them. I respect them. But it's like hold their feet to the fire a little bit. Look at, Hasbro, any company that starts to hire people, would you want to have those two goons coming in and basically saying, hey, we want to meet you. We're your new partners. We're going to take over and tell you how to run your business. You know what? The answer is no. What do people say? No, that's okay. I'm going to go somewhere else then. I'm going to go to Tennessee where I don't have to deal with this. I'm going to go to the Carolinas where I don't have to deal with this. I'm going to go to Florida so I don't have to deal with this. I'm going to go to Texas so I don't have to deal with this. I mean, we're all looking at the same thing. The Northeast has the problems with it. And Rhode Island really has been affected by it. Like when we talk with Dan McGowan, he'll even say that Massachusetts teachers unions are strong, but not as much as Rhode Island. So many of the problems. Look at the Superman building. Look at that stupid soccer stadium that we don't need. Like all of it is just because you have to pacify those individuals. Folks, this portion of our program, I had someone, Linda asked me, Linda coaches a youth soccer team for girls, and they're thinking of where they want to have their end of year season banquet, and said, what's that? I heard you mention a place we should consider. You want to contact Kids Club on the Pike. Birthday parties, team banquets, team parties, before and after school programs, preschool programs. Kids Club on the Pike. Look for them on Facebook. You can call them 401-443-5336. They are right on the Cranston-Johnson line, easy to get to from anywhere in the state, right off 295. Kids Club on the Pike. They have an area where the children can eat. They have an area where they can play, whether they're 3 years old or 2 years old or 10 years old, and they can enjoy themselves. And there's games. There's even Xbox for some of the older kids. Kids Club on the Pike is designed for kids. Look for them on Facebook, and you can also find them online at kidsclubonthepike.ri.com. Well, folks, good afternoon. Again, not to be a barking dog, but Governor Mckee remains on this 2-week vacation. And as Justin Katz and myself talked about, it's pretty telling, all the mistakes that continue. This election is so consequential. This election is so consequential because I now believe that the only way our area, Rhode Island and Massachusetts, and Rhode Island is worse off than Mass, even though I know we're right on the Bellingham line. So we have so many people that listen. But the only way I now believe that the state could be straightened out would be through a Trump presidency, because right now it's just so, being a sanctuary state is so expensive, and all the costs are passed along to you. And this state right now, Rhode Island, and Governor McKee's the wrong guy for the job. And, the fact that you have someone that's unqualified, who's unprepared, I think it'd be better served if you even had someone younger, not set in their ways. But the only chance we have of turning things around would be for the federal government to stop a lot of the programs, cut the funding, and stop a lot of the programs that Mckee keeps enacting. And I now think that's the only way, only path forward. The only real shot for survival would be, it would have to, because Harris would just be more of the same. There are so many issues that are not talked about, whether it be the sanctuary state. Those of you that follow Road Patrol know when we're out, we're not talking about 1, 2 houses. When you're talking about, full streets, blocks, areas that no one speaks English, that they're all new arrivals, and even, some of the scams that people run, that they come into the state for only a few months a year, and then they go back to their home country, and then they come back here, and they don't pay taxes. There's not enough. There's too many. There's too few people that are footing the bills for all of this. And the only solution is going to be under Biden Harris. It's gotten worse, and I think that's what it's going to come down to. I do. The media is definitely out to change the narrative, but I believe, look at it's unfair what Governor McKee does for our law enforcement. As I hear from different members of law enforcement that say, I signed up and took an oath and trained and to join a police department in the United States of America, not one that it's basically you're signing up to be a police officer in South America. It's unfair to put them in that way. And for those of you that watch Road Patrol, the amount of mental health calls, the amount of overdoses, and Governor McKee has just created this atmosphere of lawlessness and sanctuary state, and everything is drug fueled now. And all these people that are flipping out on drugs, and all these people that are having mental health problems. And Mckee and Matos, the fact that they want to then have this safe injection center, which is going to flood the streets with more junkies and more drug addicts and more illicit drugs. The state, they're changing the dynamic of the state. Now, what I am encouraged by the way, is notice people are not fooled by it. People did not want Dan Mckee. They didn't. And even in the Democrat primary, they didn't want him. They wanted Helena Folks. But instead, right now, we're stuck with Mckee. And I also want to take this opportunity to once again point out, shame on the station down the dial that continues to allow, like there's no other station in the country that would allow a campaign worker who acts as a spokesperson and surrogate to be able to occupy 3 hours a day trying to run cover and run PR for a very unpopular, incompetent governor. But again, that is the people that run the station allow it. One thing about Pork Boy, he has showed his hand, and he's not going to change. And the same thing actually with Mckee. Mckee proved he's willing to say and do anything to get elected. One thing about those guys, they are transparent as to how Weasley they are, but it's the enablers, the people that go along with it. Folks, this portion of the program is brought to you by Dreammaker Bath and Kitchen. If you're thinking right now, if you're thinking maybe you're going to redo your kitchen or bathroom, Dreammaker Bath and Kitchen, Dennis and Christina, they are so talented. Take advantage. Meet with them. Their beautiful design center, Greenwich Avenue in Warwick. You can call them 401 433 7272. Right near, they're right next to Kachai, right down from Crown Plaza. If you're listening or watching on this Monday and you've been thinking of redoing your kitchen or bath, Dream Maker, call them today, 401 433 7272. One stop shop. They take you from concept to completion. Remember, with Dennis and Christina, it's respect, integrity, customer focus. Dream Maker. Experience upgraded living with your kitchen or bath remodeled today, enhancing lives, improving homes. Dream Maker. Call them 401 433 7272. So tomorrow night will be the vice presidential debate. I think it is a little inconsequential. I don't think it's that important, but 35 days to the election, even though, early voting is going on right now. It's going on right now. As I mentioned, something that I don't think gets highlighted enough. This is very smart by JD Vance. And the reason I played earlier in the radio show some of the sound of the CNN, they had a segment on discussing the VP debate for tomorrow night and that Scott Jennings is right. You haven't heard anything from the big blowhard that came to Newport, Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota. He's done one interview, and he was with Harris when he did the interview. Whoever came up with the idea that they don't just send JD Vance, Senator Vance, out to campaign and hold a rally, he takes questions from the media, even from the crowd, while he's there. That is, whoever came up with that or thought of that, and maybe it just happened organically, but that is so effective because you're doing it in real time. The cameras are rolling, the crowd is there. You're not in a conference room rehearsing it. You're doing it. And it really, I am impressed by whoever thought to do that because it irons out and would make him that much more effective. Because of that, I'm actually now anxious to see how he's going to flesh that all out in a debate. But I think this is a consequential month because it doesn't look like there's going to be another debate. And Harris is not pulling away. And if it's tight, he could pull it out, meaning President Trump. So Harris will be forced to do more interviews. And she's terrible. She's absolutely terrible at them because if it's not written down and rehearsed, she's terrible. That MSNBC interview was embarrassing. She's not prepared for it. She starts saying things that are ridiculous and holistic and this other nonsense. So I think they're struggling. They're going to have to take some gambles. She's not going to do it until after the VP debate. But I think just looking at the calendar right now, this would be so today's the final day, obviously, of September. But the weeks of the 14th and the 21st, or probably even the 7th and 14th, those could be very consequential weeks for her to try to close the deal because there's still a lot of people that don't know about her. The other thing that VP Harris and the Harris campaign is dealing with is right now these storms in North Carolina, the hurricanes in Florida, because of she's competing for airtime against them. So that takes it off. Israel bombing Lebanon, that's valuable airtime that the networks are leading with. So, and occupying a lot of time. So it takes away a lot from her message. So I think it will be next week and the week after. They're going to have to be forced to put her out there and force her to do more one-on-one interviews, of which she's not good. She comes out with these ridiculous answers. And the other thing for the Harris campaign is Biden still hasn't gone anywhere. He's still around. He gave that nonsensical answer over the weekend. And then Raimondo's out there. And I don't know what she's doing out there because she just continues to hurt herself. So I don't know exactly what is the goal with Queena, but I wouldn't say that she's getting great reviews for some of the things she's saying, including what she just said on CNBC. Folks, this portion of the program, though, I want to welcome one of our new sponsors, and it's Watson Materials. Watson Materials, largest selection of landscape materials in Rhode Island, located South County Trail, East Greenwich. You can call them 401-885-0600. Now, they have a tremendous, wonderful, delightful Facebook page. What I like is it shows you what your outdoor space could be and what they could do for it. So when you look at what your outside could look like with a nice covering as far as eating or a fire pit, or beautiful, that goes beyond a fire pit, and it's a beautiful scene, they could do that. Watson Materials. Call them 401-885-0600. Look for them on Facebook. And then their website is watsonmulch.com. But it's landscape lighting, paving, pavers, retaining walls, natural stone, cobblestone. Okay, it's one thing you have a pool, but how about that could be what your pool looks like next to it? Watson Materials, the most complete selection of landscape material in Rhode Island. And Sean and his staff, they just do a fantastic job. And again, this is a great time of year to have that work done. Watson Materials. Well, folks, again, good afternoon on this Monday. The weather, it does seem delightful outside. This is the real news. Yes, we're gonna be out. And one of the things that you should know that the Mckee campaign does is I think they do have influence with, well, they're influencing some of the media in several different ways. We know that with Pork Boy down the dial, they have altered, WMcKeeRO, they've altered how they give traffic reports. Instead of saying it's going to take you an hour to get from point A to point B, they frame it as that, well, it's only 20 minutes from here to there, and then 20 minutes from here to there, and then they break it up into 3 legs. But when you're, making that journey, you don't think in terms of that. And as I've said, folks, the situation with crime and the types of crime, I know, and anyone that watches Road Patrol knows that it's not being covered as effectively as the way it should. You have a right to know. When you have someone doing a home invasion with a machete and some of the crimes that are taking place, and those of you, again, I'm going to point to, since this is the real news, and because of those of you that watch Road Patrol, which I'm so happy of how things have really come together with our program, but you see crime in real time. You see the number of people and the number of times that they say we need a Spanish-speaking officer on site. And my point in highlighting that is that Magritte is fundamentally changing the way, the fabric of the state. And Elon Musk even pointed out the reason why this election is so important is you can't argue. The Democrat goal is to continue to fuel more people into the country, and then they want to make it that it would then look at Rhode Island right now, where the last time a Republican won statewide, the last Republican to win a congressional race was Ron Mckee in 1992 when he got reelected. He did not run in 1994. He ran for governor and lost in a primary to Lincoln. Patrick Kennedy took that seat. So the last person to win just a congressional seat was 1992. The last person to win a statewide office was Governor Kacheri in 2006. They want to turn America into the way the Rhode Island voting is. So that's why it's so consequential and important. Folks, this portion of our program, I also want to remind you two great companies. One is Mosquito Joe. It's still, I implore you to contact them and have them treat your property. Mosquito Joe of Rhode Island is one of the most dynamic companies that I've ever dealt with. Mosquito Joe of Rhode Island. The other one is, as I mentioned, JD Tree Service. JD Lawn Care and Tree Service. Don't take any chances. Get those branches trimmed with JD Lawn Care and Tree Service. 401 401 441 0154 441 0154. Again, I share their Facebook page. Well, folks, good afternoon. 152. This is the real news. I like to highlight, as many of you know, I like to highlight local businesses. And another great business that we want to highlight is who is just fantastic is Bridget's Cleaning Service. That why not get your home cleaned? Fall cleaning is important. Get your home cleaned before the holidays. Maybe that's a nice treat for a parent or an older relative. Now, she's another one. I share her Facebook page without question. Who do I share? Someone that's considered the best at what they do, and Bridget's Cleaning Service. So, again, sit back, relax, as she says, let me do the dirty work. Bridget's Cleaning Service. If you have a parent and you want to do something nice for the relative, a parent, or for yourself, contact Bridget's Cleaning Service. She's got a long line of very happy, reliable customers. That's a great birthday gift. Have someone special have their house cleaned for the next couple of months. They're gonna love it. Bridget's Cleaning Service. But this is such a consequential election. I believe right now that despite the efforts of the media, and as I've said, I can't believe what I find very frustrating is that UNH poll that came out on the top issues in the state, and immigration for the first time ever in Rhode Island, illegal immigration was the number one issue, and it barely got covered. Barely got covered. I think I'm actually the only one that actually really covered it, but it barely got covered. That's really significant. I mean, for that to happen, that tells you that that's how much it's an issue. And the same for Massachusetts, by the way, overflowing the shelters, flying into Logan Airport. But this Pell Center poll that has come out, and I do want to actually check on if they have, and they don't, but if they have, I think I can find it. I'd be curious what issues, I think I did see it earlier. Okay, Pell Center poll. Let me just see if in real time if I can pull it up. I don't know. I know they did. Okay, so their headline is Harris leads Trump by 14 percentage points. I don't think that's accurate. I don't think that's accurate. I'm not saying he's leading, but I think that's closer to single digit. Single digit. But I wanted to go to some of the other numbers that they have. And again, I recognize that they can dismiss it. Wow, look at that. The number, again, look at how the media buries. See, this is where the media buries the lead. And I'm so glad I looked into this now. The number one issue is immigration in Rhode Island voters, 44%, and it's stronger than the economy. How come no one's reporting that? See, this is ridiculous. How do you not report that? How do you not report that? Okay, well, now they're saying Republicans said 44%. and the economy 35%. But it's still strong. It's still very, very strong. It's the number two issue as far as Democrats are concerned. Independents 15%. Oh, 4% for Democrats. Likely voters 15%. Independents. How about that? Now that is very, very consequential. And how come? I mean, I think you start to get the idea of why it's not. Why don't they don't want to make that an issue? And I just don't understand why it's ignored. It shouldn't be, I'm telling you, it shouldn't be ignored. Just report what's going on, right? Like, why is this so hard? Why do they have to try to hide it that and try to almost disguise it that it's as if to say it's not an important issue when clearly it's an important issue. And I'll even say it's never been as big as it is right now. Now, that tells me, I mean, that is really amazing. And what I'm looking at is the number of local media that have reported on this Pell poll, and they fail to mention that immigration plays such a role as it does. What is that all about? I don't understand. Folks, I also want to remind you again, we will be doing Road Patrol later. This portion of our program, though, is brought to you by Propane Plus. Remember, in Rhode Island, call Propane Plus today for all your propane needs. 401 885 4209. In Massachusetts, 508 252 3359. Propane Plus for your home or business. Do you use propane? Or maybe you want to convert to propane. Propane Plus. They also have a great website. It's propaneplus.com. You log on and then boom, you just type in residential, commercial, your zip code. Go with the leader, Propane Plus, for all your propane needs. 401 885 4209 for Propane Plus. Well, folks, good afternoon on what seemingly, I see the sun coming out. Looks like it's turning into a delightful afternoon. Yes, we're going to be very active tonight with our road patrol. And tomorrow night is the VP debate. So we'll probably do road patrol early. But again, folks, thank you for tuning in. This is the real news. That is amazing. The number one issue, first time I've seen this for Republicans in the state and voters in the state in this new Pell poll, is in fact illegal immigration. Very, very telling. And it would seem to me, unless I'm missing something, the media is almost burying the lead. All right, we will be back. We're going to be out tonight. Road Patrol, again, make sure you follow the page. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Stay tuned for the 2 o'clock news. We'll be back on the radio tomorrow at 11. And again, we'll be doing Road Patrol Live later on this sunny Monday.